Hi, this is Bart Greenwell with New West Marketing. Our website is powerinapinch.com. Our phone number is 801-506-0665, and we're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. We're located in Salt Lake City. I've been asked to go through a little more detail on the Gold Zero products. Our first video was a generalization of their product line. This time we'll go into a little bit more detail. Hopefully I won't get too technical. That's something, if you ever want to give me a call, I can go through and discuss some of those things with you. But we want to keep this video to a reasonable amount of time and address most people's concerns. First thing I want to talk about is if you buy Gold Zero products, one of the challenges people have if they're not accustomed to battery technology is that they let the batteries go dead on their units and then don't recharge them. Anytime a battery sits dead for a period of time, it will not recharge. The one thing that I would suggest is when you buy your Gold Zero product, plug it into the wall or whatever mechanism you're going to charge it with and keep it charged. All of their larger units especially have charge controllers built in, so you cannot overcharge them. Typically we suggest to people any of their Escape 150, even Sherpa 50 up, keep them plugged in all the time. You cannot overcharge them. That way, if you lose power in the middle of the night, your batteries are totally charged and ready to go, and then you can recharge them in the day in the sun. But we definitely want you to keep those plugged in all the time. You can't overcharge them. You can't burn them out by charging them. That way, they're always ready to go, and that way you also won't damage your batteries by letting them run dead. The second thing I'd suggest is when you buy Gold Zero products, they're really a lot of fun. Don't put them in your closet, walk away, and forget about them until you need them. Use them. Try them out. Mess around with it. They're great products. Have a lot of applications that you won't think about that you can use them for until you get them out and start using them, and then you think, man, I could do this with it. So use them. Have a lot of fun with them. They really are a fun product. So let's dive into their products. Last time we talked about lights. I don't think we need to really talk much more about lights. We covered it. They're pretty basic. Let's talk about the battery packs in a little bit more detail. You probably don't need to spend a lot of time on the Switch 8. It's really very basic. Again, it will charge cell phones. Technically, it'll charge an iPad, but it doesn't do much for an iPad, I'll tell you. It really only gives it about a 10% lift or 15% lift to what it's got. This is really a cell phone charger. And I would not even suggest this, I'll be very honest with you, I would not even suggest it for some of the bigger display cell phones that take a larger battery, like a Samsung, some of the Note, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, like the new larger display ones that they have that are 20-25% larger than a traditional cell phone. I would probably recommend you go to a Guide 10 Plus for that. This is really just for a standard iPhone or a standard Android type phone. And let's talk a little bit, this is a good time for us to take a break from the batteries and talk a little bit about the wattages. We'll get a little bit technical here and then we'll be able to move on. This is an 8-watt unit. Everything Gold Zero does, they rate in watts. So everything's just really a simple math equation. If you buy this in a kit, it comes in a kit with a 3.5 watt Nomad solar panel. They call it a Nomad 3.5. 3.5 watts, this is 8 watts. So you just have to do a little math equation and realize that it takes almost 3 hours in perfect conditions to charge this battery from here. So 3.5 watts times 3, and you've got this charge. Now that's in ideal conditions, perfect angle to the sun. So that's kind of how the numbering system works with this. Okay, so again, this is an 8-watt unit with a 3.5 watt panel. You can certainly use the 7-watt panel. The 7-watt panel, the Nomad 7, working with this, will charge this in a little more than an hour in perfect conditions. I always stress in perfect conditions because they're very difficult to achieve that. I usually tell people that 30 to 50% to that time is a more realistic thing because you're not going to want to stand out there and make sure it's at the perfect angle to the sun. Some days have some clouds. those types of things. So keep that in mind. The next battery pack that we've talked about is the Guide 10 Plus, and I do want to spend a little bit of time on this. If you look out on the website, there are still some really good deals out there, different places for Guide 10 kits, and they're not pluses. So the original battery Goal Zero came out with, the original battery charger they came out with, was just called the Guide 10. The Guide 10 is only a 1/2 amp USB charger, so it will not charge an iPhone or a tablet. The new ones are Guide 10 Plus, and they say it right down here at the bottom. They say Guide 10 Plus. They are a 1 amp USB charger, so they will charge iPhones, they will charge the iPads, and of course all the Android devices. So keep that in mind. There are some screaming deals out there on the web sometimes for the Guide 10 kits. If you see a price that's too good to be true, that's probably because it's a discontinued product. So keep that in mind. This product, again, uses 4 AA batteries, nickel metal hydride as their source. They do just pop out, so you can, once they're charged, you can use these in other devices, GPS units, headlamps, walkie-talkies, all those types of things that will use AA batteries. They make AAA battery inserts. They have the insert with AAA batteries, so it'll charge AAA batteries. Most headlamps take AAA batteries. So just some things to keep in mind with that. This is, again, a 10-watt product. So it is typically packaged with the Nomad 7-watt panel. And do the simple math on that, it takes about 1.5 hours in perfect conditions to charge a Guide 10 Plus kit, or a Guide 10 Plus battery pack from a Nomad 7 panel. One thing we didn't talk about last time is the Nomad 7 panel. They've got different versions of it. It's been out for quite a while. The very first one just saw had the battery pack pouch on the front. They've changed that and put it on the back now. They do that to keep the battery cooler. One thing about batteries, just a side note, is if batteries get warm, they actually lose power, even if they're not charging anything. Leaving a battery in your car in the summer, if your car gets to be 125, 130 degrees, it will take power out of your batteries. So keep that in mind. You want to try and keep them cool if you can. Back to the Nomad 7. The Nomad 7 comes standard with a female cigarette lighter 12-volt plug. This is great for any 12-volt items that you want to charge directly from the sun. You can do that. Very popular combination is this Nomad 7 panel with the Lighthouse lantern that we talked about earlier. Has the male side of the 12-volt cigarette lighter plug. Just plug it right in. You can charge this from the sun. Very popular combination. But it does come standard with that plug. It's not something that you have to buy optional. The next battery, again, is the Sherpa 50. The Sherpa 50 is a different technology. It's lithium ion. As a result, it's very lightweight. It's also very expensive for what it is. This is a little bit of a specialty battery in that it's really geared for people who have a very significant space limitation and weight limitation. It really costs, in reality, about as much or a little more than the 150-watt unit, yet it's only 50 watts, and it's because of the technology and the lightweight. Again, it's in 2 pieces. You can buy it with or without the inverter. The 110 inverter is a separate unit on the side. Certainly, if you don't need the inverter, this will work for USB charging. It will also run a Light-A-Life light. They recommend only one. And it will also charge your laptop directly if you have the right plug, and those are available from Goal Zero or from us at powerinapinch.com. The 110, again, it's just a little unit that clips into the side and then screws on, and it has a separate on and off switch for the inverter. Again, this also does have the display that we talked about from 0 to 100% charge in 20% increments. So you can get a generalization of how much battery charge you have left. This is typically packaged with the Nomad 13 solar panel. This is their new looking solar panels with the bright green stripe. They've made a change and gone to a magnetic closure instead of a Velcro closure. I don't know that one's any better than another. It's a lot of personal preference. They do have a little bit different connector in the back that is a little bit more user-friendly than their old ones, just to keep that in mind. Very, very nice product. One thing I should talk about on the solar panels real briefly is what you can charge directly from the solar panel bypassing the battery. The little 3.5 watt, reality is this won't charge much of anything except for a battery. They make it available in kits with the Guide 10 Plus. It's called a Guide 10 Plus mobile kit. Instead of coming with the larger 7 watt, it comes with a 3.5 watt. And it will charge that. It will charge the Switch 8, the small battery we talked about, very effectively. But it will not directly charge, say, an Android phone or an iPhone. You go up to the Nomad 7. I know we're backtracking just a hair, but the Nomad 7 will charge Android phones directly. I haven't found one yet that it won't charge directly. It will not charge an iPad directly, but it will charge an iPhone directly if you trick it a little bit. If you just plug the iPhone into it and then put it out in the sun, usually the iPhone will not charge. But if you put it in the sun first and it gets power going through the panel and then plug your iPhone in, it will then charge your iPhone. So a little bit of a trickery there. So that's the Nomad 7. The Nomad 13 is the first panel they have that will directly charge an iPad or directly charge an iPhone. And it'll just plug directly in and you can charge it. I've tested this a lot. This is the panel I typically use because I do have an iPad, and it will charge an iPad directly. Going up to the bigger units, the one thing I didn't talk about last time that we should spend just a minute on is a product called the Guardian. The Guardian is a charge controller. This would be used to charge directly to a 12-volt battery. They make this in various kit configurations, or you can buy it separately, but you just charge your solar panel into the one end, has the positive and negative to go directly to battery terminals on the other. They make it in a kit with the Nomad 13, which realistically would be used for ATVs and so on. It could, in theory, be connected to a car battery, but it would take a very long time to charge a car battery with a 13-watt panel. If you had a 30-watt panel, that would be a little bit more realistic, and you could charge it directly to a car battery. This is also a very popular product for ham radio folks. I sell a lot of this product to ham radio operators who kind of make their own configurations, and this is a great charge controller to go from a solar panel to a 12-volt, large 12-volt battery. And the purpose of this is so that you can't overcharge your batteries. On to the larger batteries. Talked a little bit about this or the Escape 150, kind of this is the older product in their lineup. It will be replaced later this year with the Yeti 150. Everything I've been told and seen is the Yeti 150 is essentially the same product, same battery, same everything, just in a different form factor. It's in a more square form factor, a little more like what a traditional battery would look like, but same product, same wattage, etc. It does have the inverter built into it, USB connector, will run up to 4 LiDA lives, and it also comes standard with a female cigarette lighter plug that plugs into the DC outlet. So it will charge things from a cigarette lighter. Kind of a side note to keep in mind on all of these products is that if you turn the inverter on, it does drain the battery even if you don't have anything plugged in. The inverter does take some power. I learned that the hard way by having the inverter turned on one of these, just running a couple of lights, and it only went about 9 hours. And I couldn't figure out why, and it's because I had the inverter on, so it was drawing power running into thin air. So keep that in mind. You've got to be aware if the inverters are on or off, because they will take power even if nothing is draining it. Again, the 150, the Escape 150 battery is a great product to use in conjunction with the Escape 30 solar panel. Again, if you use the math, this is a 30-watt solar panel. That's a 150-watt battery. In perfect ideal conditions, it'll take 5 hours to charge. Again, I'll allocate maybe 30 to 50% more time on that. But great combination. They do often package it with the the Boulder 15. I guess I put it away. The Boulder 15 is the small fixed solar panel. The 15-watt solar panel with that 150 to charge it from dead to full would take 10 hours in perfect conditions. Again, I recommend 25–30% of that at least is a more realistic time for that. You certainly could use the bigger Boulder 30 panels to charge it as well. Just be aware that in that particular configuration, the connector is slightly different. You need an adapter. You can give me a call and I can go through that with you if that's something that you want to do. The next battery up we'll spend a little bit more time on is the Extreme 350. 350-watt battery, separate inverter on the end. This inverter will come off. This is a popular battery for people to chain together if you decide you want more power. You can use one inverter. It's a 400-watt inverter, even though it's a 350-watt battery. So it will run something that draws up to 400 watts of power. This is a popular unit for people who want to run a mini fridge for medical, diabetes insulin, store insulin. Also very popular people CPAP machines, those types of scenarios. I have been told that the smaller 150 will run some CPAP machines. Again, if that's the situation, look up the wattage of what your CPAP machine uses. And again, that's a 150-watt battery. So what that means is if you put something on it that draws 150 watts, it will run that battery totally dead in less than an hour. So keep that in mind. Okay, so again, their wattage is based on an hourly, trying to put it in terms people can understand. That's how many watts it will produce for 1 hour of time. It's called a watt hour. Again, this is 350 watts. Has a 400-watt inverter, so if you put something 400 watts running out of it, which it will do, it would last 45 or 50 minutes is all. So keep that in mind. Yet if you ran lights in it, we talked earlier about these lights that only draw 3 watts. You could hook 4 of those up. They run 12 watts. You could go for days without ever recharging the battery. So that's just a little bit more about the wattage. We're going to go talk just a minute about, one thing. This product is going to be discontinued sometime this fall and replaced with a product called the Yeti 400. The Yeti 400, from what I've seen, is going to be approximately $75 more at retail. It could be a little bit more or less than that. Big advantage the new one has, the Yeti 400, is the inverter is built into the unit. Just like the 150 has it built in and the Yeti 1250 has it built in, so it's not a separate unit. It's also a little bit more cosmetically appealing than this one. Won't do anything different other than it's a 400 watt instead of a 350 watt. So if the Extreme 350 will work for what you need it to do, there's really no sense in waiting because the new one will be more money. It's just newer. They're trying to keep their marketing so that the Yeti is common in their larger batteries. They'll have a Yeti 150, a Yeti 400, and then a Yeti 1250. So I think you'll see that theme with them as time goes on. We'll now spend some time on the Yeti 1250. For the first part here, I'll just talk to you a little bit about the panel configuration. Typically, I would sell this with 4 Boulder 30 panels, which gives you 120 watts of solar power. This is a 1250 watt unit, so in perfect conditions, in theory, you could charge this battery from dead to full in 10 hours. Okay, realistically, you need to plan for 13 or 14. I can tell you from experience. I can also tell you that I do have some customers who are going to run this on a heavy drain that will actually run 8 solar panels into this. That's the maximum that you can have charge into it, is 240 watts. So it will take up to 8, and I do have some people who do that. Some other things that I want to talk to you about real quick on this before we get into some actual demonstrations of how much power different things use is that this product has the ability to chain other Yetis or other batteries into it. It has a very large, it's called an Anderson connector in the back of the unit that you can chain 2 Yetis together, or more realistically, you can buy a separate battery that is the equivalent of what the battery is in this unit. It's a 100 amp hour deep cycle AGM battery, and you can buy that battery for around $275. And then you can chain it together with a cable that's under $30 or around $30, and it will give you 2,500 watts of power. You're still using the same inverter and the same charge controller, so it won't put out any more power at one time, but it will have twice as much power in reserve. And you can do that. I have done it. It's a great way to do it. The battery, that extra battery, we've talked about the Yeti, it weighs 103 pounds. The Yeti, that extra battery weighs about 75 pounds. So it is something that is a little, you need to work, be aware of the weights so that you can manage that weight situation. But again, you don't have to buy another charge controller, you don't have to buy another inverter. This product uses a pure sine wave inverter, so it can be used as a uninterruptible power supply, which uninterruptible power supplies of this wattage are very expensive, so this can double as that. The nice thing about doing that is it's plugged in all the time, it's always charged, and you don't have to worry about it. But again, it is a pure sine wave inverter so that you can plug temperamental types of electronics into it, and you don't have to worry about dirty power, if you will. It's very clean power like what you would have if you plugged it in at your house. Just take a back step. Both the Extreme 350 and the Escape 150 use what's called a modified sine wave, so there are some real technical instrumentation that may not work well with those. There's not very many things that would fall into, but just be aware of that. Whereas the Yeti 1250 can pretty much run anything as far as a delicate piece of equipment. What we're going to do now is we're going to stop the video, and then we're going to focus it on the display of the Yeti, and we're going to run a couple of different things so that you can see the actual output from this, what the different wattage that some of these things need to run. Again, keep in mind this is a 1250 watt unit. The inverter in this will go up to 1500 watts. I have ran my microwave oven, a full-size microwave oven, at 1500 watts for 5 minutes, and it didn't even miss a beat. They recommend that you don't run it more than 1200 watts continuous. Like I said, I ran it 1500 watts, and it had no problem continuous. So just keep that in mind. So we'll switch that off now and go to a different view on this unit. Okay, we've got a close-up of the Yeti 1250's panel. As you can see right now, we have the power on. This button turns the power on and off. Display is out now. Turn the power on, registers the display. You can turn each bank of plugs on and off. So this turns the 110 outlets on, the USB outlets, the DC outlets, and then your small Anderson connector. So the 110, let's leave it on right now, and we're going to try a couple things. First thing we're going to try is a heavy-duty drill. This is one of the larger drills. We're trying to think of things that you would use if your power did go out and you had some emergency type applications. So let's plug it in and see how it registers. So as you can see, it ran about 260 watts. What that tells you is that if you ran that for an hour, you would have depleted somewhere around 20 to 25% of the battery in this. That uses quite a bit of power. Let's try something that'll use even a little bit more. Let's switch to a Nutrimill grinder. We'll plug that in, and I don't use a grinder a lot, so we'll switch it. We'll put it on high. We'll put it on high and turn it on. as you can see the dust come out. Okay. So as you can see, that ran around 550 watts. Typically you wouldn't run that more than maybe 10 to 15 minutes at a time. So you could get quite a bit of use out of that, but it does use more. If you were to run that for an hour, running that, you would really you'd deplete half of the battery, a little more than half of the battery if you ran it for an hour. So the next thing that we're going to do is run the Nutrimill, and then I'm going to run the drill, and I'm going to plug a laptop in as well. So you'll see the meter go in 3 different stages and kind of see how that works. So we'll do that. Let me plug them all in first, and then we'll start them all up. So this is the drill. Then the laptop. This is a Dell laptop, a Dell Latitude. So got them all plugged in. Unfortunately, my laptop, it's going to try and charge, so I'll unplug it till we get to where we need it. But you could see the laptop takes about 45 watts as it's charging. So let's start the Nutrimill, and I'll have to stop talking obviously, but you'll see the 3 different things that happen. And you'll be able to hear the different things going as well. So you could see what happened. We got up running around 900 watts, 850 to 900 watts, and again this will put out up to 1500. So it will really take care of a very high load of power. You'll also notice on the display that we dipped down a little bit. It's now showing approximately 80% charged. I've found with these, I've actually had 3 different Yetis that I have used and done testing on, and they all do the same thing. They show 100%, you have them fully charged, and it doesn't take much for it just to show down to 80 and even down to 60, but they kind of hang at 60 for a long time. So it's not a perfect meter, but it does give you a generalization. You'll also notice now it's recovered a little bit and shows back up to 100% full. So it just gives you a general idea, but the nice thing about it again is that it shows you the wattage going out. We aren't running any into it at all. These would be the connectors where you would have inputs put, whether solar panel or plugged into the wall, and it would read the input in that situation. So again, the power in this is substantial. In an emergency scenario, it should take care of your basic needs. Again, it probably not wise to run hair blowers and things that generate heat. Those take a lot of power, more power than people realize. But it will take care of things like refrigerator, freezers, and again, drills are something that you could see using in an emergency situation. Obviously the wheat grinder, those are all options that would be out there. Again, this is a great product. If we did need more power, we talked earlier about being able to add additional batteries, and those are something you can give us a call. So we'll leave you with that video again. This is Bart Greenwell from New West Marketing. Our website is powerinapinch.com. You can call me at 801-506-0665, and we're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks.